Dude, I think we're live now. So anyway, hey everybody, this is Matthew Hoagland, team lead of the Hoagland Real Estate Group of Remax Premier Properties. Most of you may know that I started a podcast towards the end of last year in 2019, and Jay Pitts was actually my first guest, and we just kind of spoke about potential recession and kind of what that meant. So anyway, Jay is my broker, owner of, and he's of Remax Premier Properties. I meant to say that he's a good mentor to me, but he's just somebody I have a lot of respect for. Partly or I guess the biggest reason that I joined his brokerage in 2016. Just somebody that to help lead through times like this. And Jay, just thank you so much for coming on.
Sure, absolutely, man. Happy to talk always.
Oh yeah. Well, we know you're a talker, and hopefully we don't get any mentions of TikTok videos and all that kind of stuff.
No
It's
TikTok.
actually it's really, really good to see you, dude. Like I know I get to see you in round two, but
it's kind of funny, man. Like, I mean, it's been what, 6 weeks now? And it's kind of hard. I don't know. It's kind of hard to conceptualize that. Like sometimes I want to pinch myself or think I'm going to wake up from all this, but
right.
It's real life, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. Well, and the good thing for us, man, I'm telling you, the show is still going on, and I'm really thankful for that, just to be able to still do business, and I know that you and Jen and the rest of the group is doing things to make it easy for us. So yeah, thank you for that as well. So our first episode, I just said talking about recession. Well, we're here.
Yeah. I mean,
for how long? How long?
Well, I don't know. That's a great question. One of the things that I did very early on when we were still trying to really just understand and conceptualize what we were dealing with was I tried to do my best to put out information to the rest of the brokerage. Remax Premier Properties, we've got, approaching 60 agents, a lot of them highly successful, practitioners such as yourself, leaders of people. We're kind of a group of teams, and, leaders need information. And so I've always been incredibly humbled that a lot of you look to me as a mentor and, put value in what I think. So I think with that comes a lot of responsibility to get to the root of an issue. And in an uncertain time, information really is powerful. It's always powerful, but incredibly impactful in times like this. So what does that mean? How long is this going to last? Nobody knows, but we got to guess. What are the outcomes? What are the minor shifts and changes that we can make to keep ourselves moving forward? Yeah. Should we lose our heads? The answer is obviously to that is no. I've spent a lot of time talking to our people and hoping to make sure they understand one thing, and that is, if you do lose your head, you forfeit your opportunity to take advantage of what comes next. We know that the industry is a bit overpopulated with real estate agents. And therefore at the bottom, you see like that graph kind of really spreads out, right? Like we're kind of like, up here in this apex, but down here, there's a whole lot of agents doing a very few amount of deals. Those are the agents that get pushed out of the business by something like this. And
I think it's because the headspace. You're touching on
the headspace is a big part of it, man. But what I want for people like you and the other amazing agents that we work with is I want you to keep your cool. I want you to keep your composure. I want you to keep serving your clients at a high level. And this might give you an opportunity to serve even more clients at a high level. And because those people that are doing business with these agents out here on the curve, they're going to be without an agent potentially. I've heard as many as 15 or 20% of our real estate agents here in Louisville, because a lot of people don't know this, but your license renewal, your errors and omissions insurance is due, or premiums are due, and your board of realtors dues were right around the same time that all this happened.
Right.
So I think probably those that were on the fence took that as an opportunity to save the cash and move on to another career.
Yeah.
So I know that didn't quite answer your question at large about the economy, but I think it does speak to residential real estate. What I will say about residential real estate is all the same things are true, and residential real estate is typically a healer of the economy. A lot of people have forgotten that because 2008, it was the cause of a recession.
Right.
But in the 5 recessions prior, home values actually increased,
Yeah.
on average about 5% during a recession. So there we are.
Yeah, well, and I'm really encouraged, and I know that you follow those guys as well at Keeping Current Matters. They've got a lot of good information that they put out about
Yeah.
the housing market. I know you dive probably a little bit deeper than most into stats and the economy and all the different factors, which again, thank you for that. So, you're definitely a sounding board for that. But something that I saw that came out, and I've shared it quite a few times, is and I'm just going to read it verbatim. So this comes from a consulting firm. They're actually one of the top U.S. housing analysis firms that are out there at John Burns Consulting. But historic analysis shows us that pandemics are V-shaped, so sharp recessions that recover quickly. And so the thing that I'm encouraged by is I think I texted this to you not too long ago, but listings have consistently stayed between 2,600 and 2,700 on the MLS for the last 5 weeks. Like, I look at it at least 6 times a week. And for me, what that tells me is I know that we've lost some buyers because of job loss and things like that, but we're also losing sellers because they're holding off. So what that tells me is we're still in that seller's market. We're still selling things. I mean, I'm seeing that obviously for myself, but and then what's going to happen is all of these people that are holding off selling, when this is over, it's going to blow up, in my opinion. I think that we're going to see an outrageous amount of homes come to market when people get more comfortable, and we're still, the buyers are still there, and new people are coming to market all the time. Sorry, that was a little rambling, but
No, I couldn't agree more. I listed a house yesterday actually it was the day before, 239,000 in Fern Creek, and we had 7 showings, and it sold in under multiple offers in a single day.
Yeah.
I think you're so the market median price for housing for residential real estate in Louisville, Kentucky is right around 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
If you're between 100 and 300, $100,000 on either side, that's the norm. If you get a little outside that, it's still pretty active. If you get up above 400,000 or 500,000, things slow down pretty substantially.
Right.
But even there, even at those price points, if it's compelling, if there's a good value, there's a buyer for it.
Yeah.
There is still an extremely short supply of property for sale. It's not a buyer's market. I don't know that we'll ever see a buyer's market as we used to define it again.
Well, and it's so funny you say that, because since I've started, I've only seen the market go this way.
Sellers markets, yeah.
Well, I always joke with some people when we're having hard times finding houses. I'm like, man, I would like to see a day where I can go out on a Saturday and show somebody 10 houses, and they're gonna pick one, and they're just gonna be able to get it.
I know.
You're saying you don't think we're gonna see that?
I don't think we'll ever be there. I can give you some information on that if you'd like. I mean, it's not about the economy at large as a result of COVID-19, but there's some universal truths, right? Okay, so here's a couple universal truths. There are 65 million plus or minus Gen X or baby boomers in the baby boomer generation. Those people are entering retirement. Their peak earning years are in their past. They have nice homes, generally speaking, a lot of them paid for, at least at the very minimum, a substantial amount of equity, but they're not necessarily in locations where, today's most powerful buyer wants to be, and they're certainly not in the condition that today's most powerful buyer wants them in.
Right.
So the downsizing in mass that was expected from the baby boomer generation isn't happening. They're aging in place, modifying existing homes, et cetera, right? So what you're seeing is still the trend of retraction, right? So sprawl is not happening. And here in Louisville, you don't see quite as many sales in LaGrange. You don't see quite as many sales in Spencer County. Northern Bullitt is still active. Western Oldham County is still pretty active. Jefferson County is really, really active. So today's buyer is the millennial generation, or the youngest of the Gen X. And there's 70 million of those.
Right.
Okay. They're entering their peak earning years. They're forming families and having children and moving into the more expensive, the most expensive homes that they'll ever buy, but they don't want the house that the baby boomer needs to sell. So, and new construction has not kept pace.
Right.
Okay. With the growth of the market over the last 10 years, probably, maybe longer, maybe 12 years. And so what you have is this really, really distinct shortage in inventory. You have a lot of flips. You see people adding on, putting second floors on homes in desirable parts of town, tearing the roof off and building a second story. I mean, you see crazy stuff like that, right? You see, also simultaneously, the millennials, they don't want to spend a lot of their time completely renovating a home.
Well,
there's some industrious millennials, but most of them don't want to do that.
Yeah, most of them are, I tell that a lot of times to sellers that are in those price points where most of your, let's spend a couple $1,000s. It's going to make a $10,000 to $15,000 difference. This money that I'm telling you to spend, because these are the people buying your house, and it work like it, and they see it. They see the value in that. Once we go to market. So anyway,
absolutely, man. So what's going to happen is that's going to keep inventory short for the foreseeable future.
Well, and that's so that ultimately is going to end up being good for sellers, and in that. So 5 months ago, dude, you and I were on my podcast, talking, and we said we knew a recession, because I went back and listened to it. We knew a recession was coming. We didn't know when. We didn't think it didn't feel like it was 2020 that was going to happen, but, and it also didn't come the way that any of us probably could have thought with a pandemic. So all that being said, though, I still feel like, and you may not remember most of that call, but I still feel like
no, I do.
The market is kind of what we expected it to be.
It's pretty good, isn't it? All things considered.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, there are people hurting, so I don't want to be insensitive to that. There are real estate agents out there that are really struggling, and so I don't know, man. Here's the thing. I thought it was 2021. I think that's what we talked about.
Yeah.
I think it was post 2020 election, right? That I think some artificial forces would have kept the market good through the election if they could have. Nobody foresaw a pandemic. It's very different than we expected, but it's here, and so we got to deal with it. Yes, you're talking between 20. I've heard as much as 40% GDP loss in Q2 of this year, but I've also heard forecasted double-digit percentage points growth in Q3 and Q4 of this year. So there's that V-shaped recovery, right, that you're talking, that V-shaped recession. We'll still probably technically be in recession at the end of the year because of the Q2 losses. The stock market dropped to 19,000 from 29, and I haven't checked it today, but I think it was in the 23,000 range as of yesterday. That represents, 6,000 of 29 represents, a pretty substantial loss. That's a almost 21% loss. 10% losses are not uncommon.
Right.
from bull markets. So this is double that, and I think the market may continue to climb if you continue to hear news of reopening, which is kind of what the narrative has started to become.
Um, so what, if you have a seller that is concerned about coming to the market right now because of the pandemic, the way that I see this is it's also could be an opportune time to sell because other people are holding off. And again, I'm suggesting this. You got to be okay with letting people in your house and being okay with the measures that we're taking, of course. But it also could be an opportunity to go ahead and come to market before everybody else who's waiting, because we still have that high percentage of buyers. You just gave a good reference for, a listing going up, 7 showings and being sold. Like,
Yeah.
there's still that going on, and it could be an opportunity for a seller to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, to clarify what their concern is. Obviously, if their health is their concern, then you don't want to be putting the house on the market.
No, absolutely.
If you're not concerned about the precautions being with the precautions that can be taken, if you're not concerned terribly with showing your home, if you're not someone with comorbidity, issues that will make COVID-19 substantially more impactful to you, and your personal health, then I think it's actually quite a good time to list. If you're setting aside the health concern.
Well, absolutely, and that's obviously not something that we're all pushing. Like, list your house now. Like,
No, of course not.
There's got to be some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Just some kind of sensitivity to that,
Yeah, no, absolutely. As professionals, that's our utmost sensitivity. That's the thing we're most concerned with.
Yeah.
The thing about listing right now, Matt, that I don't even know. Maybe we haven't discussed it. Maybe you have considered it, and I certainly would want your listeners, who are potential sellers, to hear this. I see literally, other than health, no downside. You have, and I know we've been saying this for a decade, but this really is like the most historically low rates, like almost impossibly low.
Yeah.
So rates are low, so affordability is high. That's one. Number two, inventory is in as short a supply as it will ever come.
Right.
Okay, it was already low, and now it's artificially low because people pull their homes off the market considering that there are health issues at bay. So there's even less inventory than there was. Third, if your house doesn't sell, you have the perfect excuse for why it didn't sell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So literally, what is your downside? I don't know that there is a downside. There is no stigma associated with not achieving success right now. So, now you need to understand that, if it's not compelling, it's not selling. That's an important distinction to understand. So you can't just like shoot the moon on price. But if you've got a good product that's looking to kind of, grab some eyeballs and maybe get some multiple party interest and drive price up, now's a great time for that.
Yeah. Oh, good deal. Well, I don't, man, I just appreciate you coming on here, just to talk a little bit about the market and kind of what you're seeing and your thoughts. And obviously, respect your opinion. And dude, it's just like I said, it's just good to see you, man. It's been too long.
It's bizarre, right? Like can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Before we go,
Please do.
Are you enjoying yourself being at home a little bit?
I'll tell you what, it's for me and my wife, it's expectations, man. You got if
Yeah.
fun when the expectations are set and met, because goof off and the weather needs to be good. It needs to be a little better too, but it's getting there. But I'm enjoying myself, man. I mean, you have video evidence of me enjoying myself.
Yeah, I do. I do. I do have some video evidence, and if you haven't checked out Matt Hoagland Realtor on TikTok, he is a good follow. I don't know what your handle is. I just know you send me all your videos. So,
Secretly, I do not put those publicly when I.
Oh, those are not public? Man, okay. See, I just hyped you, and now everybody's gonna be disappointed. Anyway, no, I am sincerely enjoying myself. You know, and I'm sure your listeners know if they know you, that this industry makes us move 100 miles an hour, and this is a forced kind of contraction and slowdown, and business is still going pretty well, thankfully for us. And but I'm really enjoying the time with the family, man. I really am. You know, this too shall pass, right? This will all be over one day, and we'll be talking about this over beers one day about, remember that time in 2020 where we sat at home for 6 weeks. But it's been cool.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And you hit the nail on the head there with you know, for me, it's forced me to slow down. Like, I don't feel in a rush to do everything, but we're still, you know, our team's still selling houses and things are done. And yeah, I've played a lot of games with my kids that I usually wouldn't sit down and do. And yeah,
Got the COVID facial hair
and the COVID haircut. I'm
my wife is going to cut my hair for the second time tomorrow.
That's good.
She did a good job, man. She did a good job the first time.
It's not bad at all. But yeah, keep that beard. It looks good.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see how it goes. Up close, I'm afraid it doesn't look as good, but we'll see. It's good for Zoom calls.
Oh, for sure. I feel like I've been pumping you up too much in this video. I feel like I need to
You gotta tear me down a little bit.
I need to tear you down.
It's all right. I won't get a big head. I promise.
I know. All right, dude. Hey, thanks again, man. I appreciate you, and I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow at Roundtable.
Absolutely, we'll be there.
See you, brother.